What's going on, people? Today I will be reviewing Hellfest in Blu-ray and 4K, and I got that coming up for you next. So, Hellfest just came out in 4K, Ultra HD. I will be getting straight into the movie, and this one was a movie that I was actually into, or at least curious about, just because of the fact that I love slasher films. You know, they were big when I was growing up in the 90s, and that is the horror movies of my day, and I kind of miss them today. So going into this movie, I had a little bit of hope. Just a little bit. And all I really expected from it was to just give me the kind of horror films that I got when I was growing up, you know? And unfortunately, this movie only delivers on that a handful of times. I will say that the kills in this movie are excellent, really. And they look to be practical and not a lot of CGI here. And that's a good thing. You know, I really like the practical effects that I had back in the day. And I really like the way that these kills are. I actually don't mind the way that this killer even looks. But unfortunately, the way this story unfolds and the way that these kids actually aren't locked in a amusement park, they're not actually trapped there, is a bit disappointing to me. And what is even more disappointing is how much this movie kind of drags with a very short runtime. And I just really couldn't get on board with some of the characters as well. I got on board with the main character. I feel like she is a very good actress and a very likable person. But other than that, I did not connect with anybody else on screen. And that is, again, a problem. And I kept on bumping up against a bunch of problems with this movie, and unfortunately I got to give it a 4 out of 10. This isn't the worst, but it really reminds me of the kind of slasher films that killed the genre back in the day, and not the kind of slasher films that really revived the genre in the 90s, to be honest with you. And getting into the video quality here, now, this was shot digitally on Arri Alexa cameras, but unfortunately, right now, if you look online, there is no solid way to tell if this was a 2K digital intermediate upscaled to 4K or a 4K digital intermediate. I am one to think that this is actually a 2K digital intermediate, just from the way that it looks, and that is not a bad thing, to be quite honest with you, just because this actually looks pretty good for a movie on this budget in 4K. Now, grain haters will really like this one because there is no grain to be seen here. This is a very crisp and very clean, and it has very sharp edges to it, which is always, good to see in a film with this kind of budget, you know? And along with that comes a whole lot of detail in just clothing, backgrounds of the environments that they are in, whether they are in one fun house or the other fun house that they go into. And along with that, you get a lot of face paint where you can actually see the green on the person's face and their pores. That is something that is really excellent here, and I just feel like this is a very good digital looking film. And along with that, you have the HDR here, which looks great, specifically in scenes that are under very harsh lighting, just because when they actually get into the fun houses, there are a lot of harsh red strobe lights and harsh green strobes that are all around the characters, and yet those lights don't protrude on their faces, and I just feel like the HDR definitely helps out with that. Black levels here are excellent as well. They dip fully into black without protruding on the picture quality. This is a damn good looking movie, especially for the budget in 4K. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And getting into the audio quality, we are actually given a DTS-X mix here, and I was excited to talk about this one just because of the fact that, hey, this is a horror movie that actually has upgraded audio for today and is a DTS-X mix. I feel like I don't get a lot of time to actually talk to you guys about DTS-X today. So I was looking forward to this one, and it impressed me for the most part, you know. Like I said, this is a lower budget film, so you got to take that into consideration. And what I will say is speaker separation is excellent here. And it's just very noticeable straight from the opening scene where a person appears to be talking towards the right hand of the screen, and then he moves all the way to the left, and it pans all the way to the left in the speakers as well. That kind of speaker separation is always excellent. I do love it when it gets integrated, and along with that, surrounds are heavily used all throughout as far as atmosphere and with the soundtrack. Height speakers don't get the most use here. A lot of it is relegated to the soundtrack. You get some ambient noises that go on in the park. There is one particular scene where an alarm goes off where you can hear it in the Height speakers. But other than that, I kind of expected a little more, specifically from a horror movie, but I guess this isn't a ghost story or any of that kind of stuff like The Conjuring that I really feel like benefits from a Atmos mix. And with that being said, I will give this a 8 out of 10. This is a fine DTS-X mix, and even though it doesn't display the greatest of what the format can do, I still enjoyed it all the same. And getting into the digital copy here, this is a digital copy. So what that means is that you pretty much go to their designated website and put in the code, and then you can watch this in 4K on iTunes. And getting into the special features here, all the special features are on the 4K disc, but unfortunately that isn't saying that much because really you have one 17-minute featurette that is very typical, and it is a very EPK kind of mock-up of the making of the movie, and then you get a theatrical trailer too. This is absolutely nothing. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. And getting into my last looks at Hellfest. Look, this movie is not a good movie. It has pacing issues for a movie that barely reaches 90 minutes long, and it just has characters that you really can't get a grip on, and a killer that needs to do more killing, because unfortunately that is the best part. The kills in this movie, when they do happen, they are bloody, gory, and cool. But that isn't all that makes a slasher film. And I just had low expectations coming into this movie, and they still didn't live up to that. And yeah, that's just how I felt about this one, unfortunately. And when you add up all my scores for Hellfest on 4K Ultra HD, you come out to a 24 out of 40. That is largely because of the overall quality of the movie and the lackluster special features, because the actual video quality and the audio quality are pretty solid here. So next, what is coming up on the channel is, you notice that this is actually empty over here, and that is because of the fact that I will be getting into Unbreakable and Split leading up to Glass. I will be seeing Glass in theaters. I already have my tickets, and then I will be getting that review to you guys as well. And while all of that is going on, I also am checking out Cliffhanger and Halloween 2018. So I have a lot coming out for you guys, and if you're excited about that, subscribe so you know when that video comes out. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. You guys are awesome. I don't even have to say it because you know it, and I will see all of you next time.